All right, so question of 2021. Everybody can see this?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Just move some things here. All right, so purpose of this 4-part series is really to take you from setting a goal and manifesting sort of like a blueprint that you want and how to get after it, and then give you every tool that you need to actually do it on your own. So you won't need a dietitian, you won't need a coach that specializes in nutrition per se. I want to give you all the tips and tricks that I have in my toolbox so you can just take it and run with it. With that said, I don't want this to feel like a class. I want it to be more of a discussion. So if you have questions at any time, feel free to just shout them out or put them in the chat. So we'll get started. The foundation of any nutrition goal is first setting that goal. So part one, we're going to talk about SMART goals. I know that everybody's seen these a ton of times, but I wanted to give some I wanted to give some time here because in a textbook, when it's presented to you, it's almost like a sequential thing, like start with specific, then go measurable, then go achievable, and so on and so on. And really, when it comes to fitness and nutrition, these are more like pillars. You want to make sure that you have all these pillars set in stone, but the order may not be as clean cut as what a textbook will tell you. So in my experience, when it comes to nutrition, what we're looking at is more something like this, where you have specific, timely, achievable, and realistic as the pillars that really help us set that blueprint or the map, if you will. And then you have measurable, which is kind of like this outlier that's the how, that's where the rubber meets the road. So you have the concepts, which is up here, and then you have the context, which is measurable, and the tactics, tips, and tricks. So starting with that specific category, when you're setting a goal for nutrition and fitness, you want to avoid a general claim. Things like get in shape and lose weight hold very little bearing. You want it to be very specific. You want to be detailed in what you're setting out to do. So instead of lose weight, for example, you could change that to lose 10 pounds, and it becomes that much more powerful because you have a quantitative measure that defines when you're going to be successful. Another point when you're making this goal specific is you want to keep it simple. We set ourselves up for failure very easily when we go out and say, hey, I want to lose weight and make my 1RM stronger and run faster all at the same time. Just do one thing at a time, and everything you'll find is going to fall like dominoes because certain goals will actually build on top of each other. But let each goal have its due time, if you will. Going into timely, this is the second pillar. You want your goals to be time-based, and this is important because it's going to keep you accountable, and it's going to kind of set the playing field. Like, all right, let's get after it. Say I want to get to 15% body fat. When do I want to do that? I want to do it in 9 months. I want to lose 10 pounds, 16 weeks. In 16 weeks or in 9 months, I can go back to my calendar and objectively say, did I hit my goal? And if not, what do I need to do, or what do I need to adjust to hit that goal? How close did I come? Maybe I lost 9.5 pounds in 16 weeks. Well, I'm doing everything right. Maybe it's just my own metabolism. Maybe I hit 16% body fat in 9 months. Or better yet, when you come to that 9-month marker, even if you didn't hit your goal, what happens a lot of times, people feel happy, they feel healthier, even without getting to that number that they thought that they would need to hit. So that's important as well. You're giving yourself this time to come back to the calendar and review what you've done. And that's why a lot of resolutions fail, because people, they'll set a resolution at the beginning of the year and they don't come back to it until next year. It just falls off the wagon. They're not constantly reevaluating and reassessing. A factor of time is that you must know where you are right now before you can set an actual time target. So if you want to, say, go to the Olympics, but you're playing JV volleyball at high school, you're a little bit ways away from that, right? If you're 35% body fat, for example, and you want to get down to 15%, you're a little bit ways away from that. Some ways you can really objectify where you are right now is taking girth measurements, taking your body weight, taking your body fat percentage, having a food diary or a food log in MyFitnessPal that's telling you what calories and macros you're consuming on a daily basis. And then other measures that aren't necessarily nutrition or fitness based are things like wins, batting average, and 1RM.
I got one question. Is there like an easy way to measure your body fat? Like,
Yeah, good question. So the easiest way I'd recommend is bioelectrical impedance. So a lot of gyms have something called an in-body where you would stand on it and you would just put your hands on these metal plates and it would send a very small electrical charge through your body. And the time it takes for that electrical charge to come back, it's stratified through some sort of algorithm and it basically tells you how much body fat you're holding on to.
gotcha.
If you want to be more accurate, having somebody who's very knowledgeable in calipers, that would be the gold standard. But the bioelectrical impedance is very easy. It's accessible. You can get one of them off Amazon for like $20. Just hold it, hit start, and it'll give you that number.
Gotcha.
Another way you could do it, Will, is you could look up the Navy body fat test.
Yes.
All you need for that one is going to be, like a tape measure to measure the circumference of a couple of your neck, your stomach. You'll take your height and your weight. That's actually the one that we do with teams here at Trinity pre-COVID, the Navy body fat test.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're familiar with the website called rippedbody.com. That guy, Andy Morgan, he's a nutrition coach. He actually has a section that's just for the Navy body fat percentage. It's a calculator online, so you just put the numbers in and it'll spit you out the body fat percentage. It's rippedbody.com. I'll see if I can email you a link after this as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So that next pillar that we're going into is achievable. I like to say that every single goal is achievable, and I don't want people to set their goals too low because I find that that's kind of a very difficult dichotomy to balance where it's like, okay, let's say that high school volleyball player does want to get to the Olympics. I'm not going to be the guy to tell him no. I'm just going to say, are you willing to pay that price that it's going to take to get there? Right? The hard training sessions, really meticulously looking at your nutrition, hitting the weight room every day, going to practice for 3-4 hours a day. If that answer is no, then that person needs to revise their goal and then return to step one once they have that revised goal. If the answer is yes, I then instruct them to go complete something called the 5 whys. And what that is that's taking your goal that you say you want and giving you this one-on-one gut check. Do you really want it? Or how bad do you want it? You're going to go through these 5 whys, and I want you to go think of it like you're an announcer at a pedestal and you just have all these people asking you questions. Why? You want it to be a knee-jerk reaction. I want to lose 10 pounds. Why is that important to you? Immediately put it on paper. Even if it sounds selfish or very superficial, it's still a reason. Write it down, because as you progress through these whys, you're going to get that deep intrinsic motivator that's going to drive you to do that work day in and day out to get to that goal that you've set. This is a critical piece right here. But again, if you're not willing to pay that price, then you got to go back and revise that goal. So something that I like to show people is the trade-offs of what their goals actually entail. So this is something called the trade-offs of getting lean by Precision Nutrition, which I can also send the link out to. And this depicts everywhere from 20% body fat all the way down to 6% body fat. And what the infographic illustrates is what you need to do more of to reach that next level and what you need to do less of to reach that next level. So it kind of gives you more of an application side of things. Like, all right, I want to lose six pounds. That sounds great on paper, but what do I actually have to do? And this is it right here. So now that you see that illustration, are you willing to do these things to get to that point? So for example, we have that guy. Sorry, I got a sensitive mouse here. For example, we have this gentleman here. He's in poor health in that unhealthy section, low energy levels, risk of metabolic syndrome, and may need medications to manage various conditions. So if he wants to go from that 20-ish% body fat to that 15%, well, this infographic's saying that it's a very easy transition to do because he's already right there. He's on the cusp of getting there already. The trade-offs of being where he wants to be is that it requires some thought and planning, and you'll look good, but not super, super lean. And this infographic, like I said, it goes all the way down to 6%. I couldn't illustrate it all here on one slide, but I'm happy to give you the links for that. But it essentially just gets that frame of mind in your head, like, okay, I want to do this, but there is a price I'm going to have to pay to get there, whether it's work, planning, things like that. The last pillar in terms of setting our outcome is realistic. So this is basically, is your goal safe, right? Like, I guess any goal is real if you work hard enough at it, but is it actually going to be safe for you to do this thing? So I want to give some important reminders here. Physiologically, it's impossible to lose just body fat. When you lose weight, you're losing a combination of a lot of things, but the densest portion of that is going to be a combination of body fat and muscle to a degree. A safe rate of weight loss is going to be 0.5% of your body weight per week. And a safe rate of muscle gain is going to be 0.25% of your body weight per week. So if you have somebody saying something outrageous, well, like, I don't know, I want to lose 5 pounds in a week, every week for the next 4 weeks. That's not necessarily safe. It's going to throw their hormonal cascades out of whack. They're not going to feel really good, and they're going to actually lose a lot more muscle than what's desirable, really, and that's going to set them back. So we have those 4 pillars. Once again, those form our outcome. And now we're getting into the measurable side of things, which is it's really just the behaviors, where the rubber meets the road, the applied aspect of how you're going to go from that 35% body fat to the 15%. So breaking down our goal into chunks, right? We've set it, we've done the 5 whys, we have everything we need now in terms of where we are mentally, where we are now, and where we want to be. Now we're going to break that into smaller chunks. So let's say that we have somebody, their goal is to lose 10 pounds in 6 months. Well, we'll break the first month down into just one skill that they'll do daily, and then they'll revise it at the end of a 2-week period. So let's say this person, they have very limited nutritional knowledge. MyFitnessPal is a foreign element to them. They don't have a food scale. They don't cook. So we'll just practice something very, very simple like hunger and appetite awareness. How are we going to measure that? Well, we'll practice eating slowly, maybe putting your fork down in between bites. Once those first 2 weeks are done, if you could say that you did it for 80% of the time, move on to that next practice for the last 2 weeks of that month. So we're formatting success in terms of milestones. So you're going to feel rewarded before you even achieve your goal. And frankly, you have to hit these little milestones anyway in order to get to your goal. So you might as well take the time and actually feel good when you master these skills and these habits. That's just one example. We could do more if you want after the fact, but we're going to go into what tools and resources you need, which would also fall into that measurable category. So if you have pretty much any nutrition or fitness goal, you're going to need some common items: scale, body measurement tape, the Omni bioelectrical impedance reader or calipers like you and I were talking about, well, a Fitbit, which could give you valuable data like your step count and heart rate activity, and a food scale. You'll need some general tools, or at least take inventory of the general tools that you have at your disposal. Nutritional knowledge being one of them. You know, if you haven't done a ton of cooking in your life or a ton of shopping, then we can get this up by doing smaller habits before we get to bigger things like meal prep. Do you have an oven? You know, it sounds simple, like everybody would have one, but some people don't. Maybe they just have a microwave or toaster oven, and we got to work with that and format their menus to work around that. Tupperware to store the food, utensils, And then we have some personal preference tools. These are more optional based on what you think you would need to succeed independently of these here. So MyFitnessPal, for example, I'm a huge proponent of that because it tells you exactly how much of calories, protein, fats, and carbs you're eating every single day. A meal prep service, which I've used when I've been very busy, that helped me get to my goals. A meal plan, you know, do you want something that's sent to you every single week? So you don't even have to make your list that you're going to go to the grocery store with. A coach or a registered dietitian. Maybe you want to learn more about the actual science of the foods that you're eating. Or an accountability partner, just saying, hey, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this year. Make sure that you're asking me how I'm doing, because that's the only way that I know that I'm going to stay on the track. Whatever you need is fine. Just kind of take a second to think about how you can set yourself up for success. And these are ideas. It's not all encompassing, but I hope that it just kind of spurs your mind thinking. I wanted to give a general, I wanted to give some results to you. So this is a client that I have, and he went from 290, and right now he's sitting at 233. All right, but the thing is that when a lot of people, they approach their fitness and nutrition goals, they think that it's just this nice straight line. But this is real data. I didn't make this up, and I have his permission to use this. What you can see is that you do go down at first, and then you're going to jump back up. But that doesn't necessarily mean failure. Give your body some time to adapt to these habits, skills, and tricks that you're implementing into your life to actually work, because the body, it doesn't work overnight when it comes to nutrition. So he actually ended up weighing more in that first 2 to 3 weeks than he did when he started with me. But then we just kept on it, and you can see that there was a decline. And then all the way down, you have these peaks and valleys that are pretty consistent. You know, it always gets worse, and then it gets a little bit better, even better than it was before. And then it jumps back up again, and so on. So keep this in mind, that you're not failing just because that weight on the scale has gone up on this week's check-in. And yeah, I left some time for questions. I don't know how I even did on time, but if anybody has questions, feel free to shoot them out.
I just had one question, just like a theoretical question for like wrestlers. When you say like losing a bunch of weight isn't very healthy, like wrestlers sometimes have to cut like a bunch of weight. Is that like considered like not a healthy practice for the most part?
I think the rate of weight loss that they try to achieve in a short amount of time is not healthy. You know, like for example, I've had wrestlers who, when they're not in season, they jump up 20 or 30 pounds. Whereas I would recommend, hey, why don't you try to stay at least somewhere, maybe even in that standard deviation of 15, around what weight classes that you're going to be going at this season. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So that way there, we're not trying to lose, 30 pounds in 3 weeks, something crazy like that. They'll be feeling tired and fatigued and dehydrated. I wish that wrestlers would give that longer time frame for the weight loss.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kyle, I got a question.
Okay.
I know in Mass 2, he talks about chewing your food slowly. Does precision nutrition go in depth? Because I eat my food. Like I look up, look down, and my food's gone. I eat my food pretty fast. Do they talk about it at all on benefits of eating a little bit slower?
Yeah. So if you're somebody who's overweight looking to lose weight, then eating a little bit slower is going to get you more acquainted with those hunger and fullness cues. And you'll actually find that you feel fuller faster. And sometimes there's food left over on your plate. However, on the other side of that, if you're trying to gain mass, precision nutrition also recommends eating a little bit faster. The reason for that is that you're going to circumvent those hunger hormones that tell you to stop eating, and you'll be able to consume more calories. Essentially, the eating slower is the healthier approach. Mm-hmm. And we can kind of go down that rabbit hole on when you set a goal, is it necessarily healthy versus not? Because there's different I don't want to call them dark-sided tactics that you can use to get there. But yeah, to answer your question, they do go into that, and it is beneficial for people who are overweight looking to lose weight.
Thank you.
I have a question.
What's up, Z?
I don't know if you covered that already, but timing wise when it comes to eating, because I tend to eat really late. So what's the like a balance type of hour, especially for college students, because you eat whenever. So I just wanted to talk about that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great question. And in a perfect world, we'd be having food every 4 to 6 hours or so. But naturally, with all that's going on, that's not always attainable to do. I would encourage to find some things that you could have that are readily available, maybe like prepping protein bars to just have them between a class or something like that, just so that you're getting those nutrients in. But at the end of the day, studies are showing that as long as you're getting the macros and the calories throughout the entire day, the food timing isn't as critical. Before your workouts and your practices, yes, it holds a lot of bearing. But if if worst case scenario is you eat 2 meals, but you just load a ton of the nutrients in those meals to the point where you're getting what you should be, you're not going to be in a horrible spot. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Good question.
I have a question. I was wondering if you had any like example goals if I'm just trying to eat healthier.
An example goal if you're just trying, well, I would encourage you to find out why are you trying to eat healthier? Do you not like how you feel throughout the day? Do you have a lot of brain fog? What's kind of inspiring you to just eat healthier in general?
Well, like personally, I just like my doctor told me I need to because I don't eat fruits or vegetables. And so it's just like a problem I've always had because I think they're gross. So like how can I set a goal to like try and force myself to like eat foods that aren't processed?
Sure. I would add before you take away. So throughout the day, you have a diet that's probably pretty consistent, or you eat a certain way that's pretty consistent, right? Maybe adding something that you don't have throughout the day, like trying for 2 different colors today, carrots and an apple, or even 3 different colors, but don't take foods away because they're bad right off the bat. Does that make sense? So instead of saying, oh, I can't have that box of Frosted Flakes, which is my favorite cereal of all time, I'm saying, all right, I can have the Frosted Flakes, but I'm also going to have some healthier alternatives that I don't normally eat throughout the day as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Farron, did you have a question? I saw you pop up there.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, can you quickly talk about cutting down red meat and like the effect of that on our bodies, and then how we can like supplement that?
I'll just give you some data that we're finding, especially here in the US. So red meats in general in the US, if you're not going organic, what we're finding is agribusinesses inspired farmers to use things like hormones and candy and feed them into the cows. And a lot of these cows that come from agribusiness, and this is stuff that isn't well advertised, but the meat from these cows is actually green, and they're treated with carbon monoxide to get that pinkish color, as well as some dyes. Yeah, so meat itself is not bad if you have the organic meat that's mainly pesticide, herbicide, and rodenticide free, where they're eating from organic grass, if you will. But when you have these cows that are fed nothing but straight hormones and candy for their whole life, that's the meat that's going to perpetually be bad for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would say strive for the more organic certified meats. Stay away from those mass produced 99 cent per pound specials that you might see in the store.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Joyce.
Yes. I was wondering, what's your opinion on like imitation meat, like especially since Beyond Burger is like getting really popular?
I'm going to go back to the source. So like Burger King just unveiled their entire vegetarian patty.
Mhm.
That's made with kind of like those dark-sided agribusiness traits. Yeah, it's all vegetables, not real meat, but it still has a bunch of fake stuff along with the herbicides, rodenticides, and pesticides in there. If you're making it from scratch or you have a very trusted source, it's a great alternative, especially for people who prefer a vegetarian style diet, or if they're used to more like Mediterranean meals. That's a great way to get the protein in. So I would suggest, I would say that it has a place as a staple in somebody's diet. Just make sure that the source is very clean.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What else we got?
I guess I can ask something else.
Alright.
Can you talk about snacking and how much snacking is like good, I guess? Because I eat pretty healthy. I do eat pretty healthy, but I also snack a lot, and I feel bad whenever I snack. But I'm not trying to snacking because who does? So how much snacking is okay if you're trying to start a fitness journey or whatever?
That's relative to what you should be consuming throughout the day. So as I was saying before, like if you had and I'll get more into this in part 2 and 3, and I'll avoid kind of like the science and the techno babble of it, but let's say you have something like 2,000 calories a day, which is what's recommended to hit your goal. I don't know what your goal is, and I don't know if you should be having 2,000, but I'm just throwing this out there. If you're getting that 2,000 and you're meeting the protein, the fat, and the carb requirements throughout the day, and you're having mainly whole foods to do it, the snacking does not matter unless you're snacking on things like onion rings and cinnamon buns. Does that make sense? So you have the whole day to get those 2,000 calories in, and you have the whole day to get whatever your protein, carbs, and fat recommendations are. But as long as you're not going for straight sugar for the snacks, essentially you can have as much snacks as you want. Things that are like protein bars that are homemade, the carrots that I talked about earlier, things like that.
All right, thank you.
I don't know if that answers your question entirely or not, Z.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. It definitely come into the next part as well, because I'll be breaking down the science of how to find that calorie allotment and things like that.
Okay.
Do you have a protein bar you suggest? Because I like the Gatorade ones, but they have like 20 or like 30 grams of sugar in them. So they're like not very sustainable if you want to eat like one a day.
Sure. I can't speak on an exact brand for any sort of protein bar or supplement. But what I will tell you is that if it has less ingredients, odds are it's better for you. And if you see things that are like super anabolic blend on the supplement facts label, turn the other way, because that's going to be a ton of fake stuff that isn't listed in the ingredients. So you're getting more than what's listed on there. And I'm sorry I couldn't go into an exact brand with you, Will.
It's all good. Don't worry.
I hope that helps, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, rather than stare at each other awkwardly, I'll just break the ice and say, hey, if there's no more questions, thanks for coming on. Hope that you're excited on coming on to the next part, because we really break down the science and the application of setting up your diet. So hopefully I see you there. And thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, coach.
Coach.
Thanks, team.